everybody. Kay Crystal Griffith here, and welcome back for your daily digest of emotions, wisdom, and your body. Did you know that emotions are body wisdom? They're here to teach you all about your body, soul, and spirit, if we choose to listen. So, every day for 2021, we are going to delve 15 to 20 minutes, possibly slightly longer, not tonight though. We are going to delve into how your emotions are affecting your body, soul, and spirit, and what you can do to counteract those feelings and emotions so you can practice better, healthy emotional wisdom. So today's word is insecure. Before we jump right into that, let me give you your disclaimer. I'm not a doctor. I do not play one on TV. And I have my master's in adult education, as well as inner healing certifications and trauma certifications. So plenty for you to feed off of right there, right? All right, let's get started. Insecure. Now, I'm sure none of us have ever felt that way, right? There's so many of these emotions that we've all felt before. Isn't it true? Like, especially as little kids, man, that insecurity, that is off the chart, especially as teenagers, right? You have this one little like bump right here and you're like, oh my gosh, my life is gonna end because I have acne everywhere. And you're like, dude, I'm like, I have a magnifying glass out. I can't even see it, but it's the end of the world for them. And that's really what we're talking about with insecurity. Did you know that that word has only actually been around since the mid 17th century? Isn't that hysterical? This is a relatively new word. What does insecure mean? Not firmly fixed, liable to give way or break, uncertainty or anxiety about oneself, lack of confidence, really even the state of being open to danger or threat, or a lack of protection. An insecure person is someone who stopped following their inner guidance system, I call that the Holy Spirit, to follow external voices, I call that the world. And that anxiety that you experience really makes you feel vulnerable and insecure. Traumatic events or perceived inferiority in a relationship, they could prompt it. In short, insecurity sets in when something threatens a person's well-being or their ego. How emotionally insecure someone is really depends on his or her capacity for resilience. How quickly can you move through the situation so you can get your confidence back, right? It also depends in your relationships, how much is going to set a person back. And that really determines how anxious he or she may get in the relationship because of that setback. Insecurity, it's full of fun, isn't it? As an emotion is something that everyone experiences, but really it's about the fear of the future possibilities of something bad happening. Now, we're not always talking doom and gloom here, but it really is that fear of being left, abandoned, neglected, mistrusted, betrayed, and all those are rooted in previous trauma. So let's talk a little more about this. So insecurities develop when we compare ourselves to others, and then we feel less than. Like, I can't measure up. I'm not worthy. And so they occur when we experience a consequence. Being different from others. And this is a big deal for kiddos with food allergies, or perhaps are on the spectrum, or they've got medical complexities, or something that makes them stand out, right? And when I say stand out, it means from differently from the crowd. Now, that doesn't mean that they and their situation are bad. But what happens is because they don't fit the norm context of what the world thinks is norm, then they are standing out, right? So I loved how a recent person that I interviewed called us, really disabilities are nothing more than being abled in a different way. That doesn't make them stand out. They just have a different way of getting to it. So for example, if both of us set out on the path to get to the barn, I take a left, you take the right, it doesn't mean one of us is better or worse. It just means we're taking a different path to the barn. Same concept. So we really need to pay attention on whether or not we're feeling like we don't measure up. So when we do feel that unworthiness of insecurity, that is a negative emotion. Insecurities tend to feed mental health issues like depression, low self-esteem, high anxiety. They're often a contributor factor for eating disorders and substance use disorders. Insecurity is linked to mental health conditions such as narcissism, anxiety, paranoia, addictive, or dependent personalities like codependency. We work hard to hide our insecurities, don't we? And we want to avoid the judgment of what we're expecting from other people and how they direct their opinions towards us. And you've heard me say recently, you probably think more about what other people think about you than they're thinking about you. That's typically what happens. We have in our head that all these people are talking about us and thinking about us. Like, seriously, who has that kind of time? That's what I would like to know. Who has the kind of time to just sit there and about somebody else? Like, if you do, you do not have enough to do in your life. That's all I'm going to say about that, right? So, and this is more than just like gossip. Not that that's good either, but this is more like, this is like you're constantly finding something else to talk about with somebody else. But the fact is, they're not. And truly, if they are, they're probably in like middle or high school, I'm going to assume, because adults don't have that kind of time. So hiding our insecurities are really a futile effort, as they're only temporary solutions. And we usually cannot hide something we're insecure about 100% of the time. So if you feel like there's a nose issue or an arm issue or a shoulder issue or a height issue or, a head issue, like I actually met somebody and they were highly convinced everybody was talking about the shape of their head all the time when they met them. I'm like, I've known you for quite a while and that has never crossed my mind. But that's what happens. We get in our head this narrative that we make up for other people. This is what gets us in trouble. Stop that. Just stop that. So really what happens with insecurity is we have a lot of negative effects. These can range from difficulty in trusting other people, feeling paranoid, mistakenly perceived as arrogant, really, when we're trying too hard to put a mask on for our insecurity. It's like you go to the other extreme. I don't want you talking about me, so I'm going to either make myself the point of discussion, or I'm going to hide myself, or I'm going to be the class clown. So many things that they could do. Maybe they feel panicky over small issues. They have a fear of decision-making, actually. And they feel unloved in all relationships because there's no true soul-to-soul communication. You're too busy putting a mask on, so you can't let anybody get in to actually have that soul-to-soul communication. This includes your relationship with the Lord, actually. Scare others away, feeling unaccepted, unappreciated because they seldom express their mind. And then they have problems at school or at work dealing with differences in ideas because they're afraid of telling others what they think. This is a big deal, folks. And then that keeps them feeling angry and hostile and insulted until, guess what? They quit relationships. They quit their job. And stuff it all, which makes another vicious cycle. This is a bad thing. You can see why the anxiety begins to creep up, right? My printer is still broken, so I'm trying to adjust this here. So how do we deal with all this? Well, first of all, first step to all of these, we have to accept ourselves for who we are and where we are. Then, once we are aware, we can then shed our insecurities. We no longer care whether we're judged for them. We practice self-acceptance, and we often find that the majority of people who do not judge us and those who don't, or those who do, really don't matter. So, the fact is, folks, we're going to run into people who don't judge and people who do. And part of that is a critical nature in those people. And a lot of times when they are that critical, it's usually because they have their own insecurities. So you're dealing with somebody else's insecurities when they start making you feel insecure, typically. All right. So start thinking for yourself. Everybody has an opinion, but you have to be strong enough not to be swayed by that opinion. And you maintain your confidence. Maybe you're not a beanpole. Maybe you don't want to be a beanpole. Maybe you can't sing. Maybe you can't dance. Maybe you don't have admin skills. Okay, does that make you a bad person? Nope. And God has equipped you with your own unique talents and abilities. So what are they? Let's start walking in them. Because the more that you walk in your talents and abilities, the less time you're going to have to worry about what other people think about what you're doing, because you're walking in the path that God has directed you to. And that is super important. I've seen this all week long in a conference I've been in. And I've got an admin nature. I've done a lot of stuff. I can multitask. I've got ADHD off the chart. And so I can be listening, taking notes, and then doing things on the computer. And that was the flow. And I was able to get some stuff done for probably with the people in the room, about 120 people, and all week long. And it was just something I just chose to do because I knew they could use the information and it would be all in one place for them. And it worked out beautifully. That's one of my giftings. What are your giftings? Everybody is different, right? My gifting is not cooking. I can, but I don't like to. My gifting is not necessarily cleaning the house. I can, but I don't like to. I'd rather pay somebody else to do that because that's what they enjoy. I don't like cleaning a house. Figure out what your giftings are and flow in them. That's what God has asked you to do, right? All right, number 2, start taking care of your health. The key is when your health is poor, your insecurity rises. You're more susceptible to what's going on in the world. 1, brain fog. 2, exhaustion. 3, sleep. 4, distraction. Pick an issue. But really, when your health is poor, your insecurity rises. And then number 3, start doing things that you love. Do one thing, whatever it is, one thing that you just love, right? I love serving people. Like here, no one asked me to do this challenge except God. And then he and I have words about it all the time. We have a good relationship. All right. But here's the thing. If you do something that you hate, it comes through everything. It really causes you to feel more insecure. It becomes something you ruminate on. It keeps you awake at night. You dread getting up and doing it in the morning. And really, that's not what God has for you. So whatever that is that you're dreading that badly, please reevaluate it. If you need some time to talk to me about it, let's set up a clarity call. Let's have a conversation around it so we can get you going in the right direction. And ultimately, get to the root of why you feel insecure. And the best way to do that, inner heart healing. Yep, I figured you guessed it. Now, let's just talk about those wisdom verses then. To be insecure is to really lack confidence, to trust, whether that's in ourselves or someone else, right? And there are many causes of insecurity, but the chief among that insecurity, truly, is failure to fully trust God as your provider, your protector, and your provision. Think about that for a second. In Satan's arsenal, one of his biggest weapons is doubt. And doubt is hand in hand with insecurity. So how do we combat these? Romans 12:2. Do not be conformed to the pattern of this world. Stop listening to them. But be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Now, how do we renew our mind? The word, praise and worship, having a conversation with them, having reflection time with them, listening to them. And then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is. Not the world's will, but God's will. And his will is good, pleasing, and perfect. Philippians 4:6, do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. Stop being anxious, right? You're anxious about what other people think about you. This is not helping your health. It's making your heartbeat raise up and your blood pressure rise up. And then you get brain fog and then your anxiety starts to go through the roof. This is not a good plan. So don't be anxious about anything. Give it over to him. If you think somebody else is talking to you, go, okay, Lord, you want to deal with your kid over there? Because I feel like they're talking about me. And then do you want to deal with this kid? Because I feel like they're talking about me, right? And so then you have both pieces, right? Last verse, 1 Peter 5:8. Be alert and of sober mind. Your enemy, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion looking for someone to devour. And if you're busy in your insecurities and thinking about what other people think about you instead of what God thinks about you, then guess what? The enemy has found something to devour. Just stop it. So how are you going to deal with this new information about insecurity? How are you going to apply it to your life? Remember, wisdom is the hearing, but also the understanding and application. So 3 questions. How has insecurity been showing up in your life? Probably in kind of hidden ways, maybe. And has it been positive or negative? And how can you transform it by wisdom, understanding, and knowledge as you move forward in it? Take the scriptures, add your name. Tomorrow's word is confident, the opposite of insecure. I will have a lot more sleep tonight. Hallelujah. I don't have to be up. God woke me up at 5:45 this morning. I am not an early morning riser. I went to bed at 2. Needless to say, I apologize for the yawning tonight, guys. Let's have some more confidence tomorrow and more sleep. Join us again tomorrow for Emotions, Wisdom in Your Body. Register at kcrystalgriffith.com to receive more insights and your feelings wheel. Until then, you guys have a blessed night and have a fantastic weekend.